Welcome to Royal Secret. It was a moment that stopped time. Not because of grand ceremony, nor because of royal fanfare, but because of something infinitely more human: tears. The tears of a son, a king, standing in the limelight of his duties and the shadow of his love. King Frederik X of Denmark, a monarch often known for his dignified reserve and stoic public demeanor, found himself overcome with emotion. And in front of the person who knows him best, his wife, Queen Mary, he broke down while speaking about the woman who shaped him into the man and monarch he is today, Queen Margrethe II. This moment, caught in the glow of palace lights and flickering cameras, unfolded during what was expected to be a routine royal engagement, an official address following an event honoring his mother's decades of rule. But it became something else entirely. As the weight of memory pressed upon him and the silent strength of his mother's legacy bore down, the walls Frederik had kept up throughout his new reign began to fall away. There was a hush in the room. No script could hold the emotion he felt. No royal title could shield him from the tide of feeling swelling inside. The cameras didn't capture a king giving a speech, they captured a son reliving the emotional kaleidoscope of a lifetime. A son who had, in the public eye, been handed the crown and title, but in private, had said goodbye to his mother's reign. The crowd held its breath as his voice cracked. "My mother," he began, before pausing. His throat tightened, his eyes glistened, and even the rigid lines of the Danish royal protocols softened as he struggled to go on. "My mother," he tried again, placing his hand against his chest as if the words were caught deep within. He looked down for a moment, then up at Queen Mary, and in that instant, she stepped closer, not physically, but emotionally. Her gaze never wavered, her eyes, filled with empathy, locked onto his. She offered him the same steadiness she has offered Denmark for years: grace, composure, love. Her presence gave him strength. It wasn't just a moment of vulnerability. It was a defining moment in Danish royal history. The crown had shifted from one monarch to another, but the emotional tether binding Frederik to Margrethe remained unbreakable. Those watching at home felt it instantly. This wasn't an act. This wasn't orchestrated or rehearsed. This was real, raw, and deeply human. It reminded Danes and royal observers across the world that behind the elegance of royal portraits and state dinners are complex bonds of love, duty, and emotional weight few can ever fully grasp. King Frederik's love for Queen Margrethe is not just filial, it's reverent. He's never shied from speaking of her with admiration, but rarely has he spoken so personally. Margrethe, known for her strength, intellect, and iconic presence, ruled Denmark for over 5 decades with distinction. She was not merely a queen in title, she was a cultural institution. And to Frederik, she was a guiding light, a mother who bore the impossible burden of leading a nation while raising 2 sons in the demanding glare of public life. As he stood there, struggling to continue, the hall remained silent, not out of awkwardness but out of collective respect. Journalists who were present noted the shift in atmosphere. A seasoned photographer who's followed the royal family for 30 years said, "I've seen Frederik at state events, Olympic bids, global summits, but I've never seen him like that." It was as if time rewound to a young boy saying goodbye to his mother, even as he wore the crown she once bore. What struck many, too, was how Queen Mary reacted. She didn't reach out to comfort him physically, respecting the setting. But she anchored him emotionally. A single glance from her steadied him. It was the quiet power of a queen consort who knows the man behind the title. And for the audience, it became abundantly clear: Frederik and Mary are more than just monarchs. They are partners in every sense of the word. Mary's own story has often been compared to fairy tales. An Australian by birth, a commoner who captured the heart of a crown prince, she entered the Danish royal family with poise and humility. But her most compelling strength has always been her emotional intelligence. And in this moment, she used it like a shield, for her husband, her children, and the nation watching. As Frederik found his words again, he continued, this time softer, slower, but still fighting emotion. "She has given everything to this country, everything to me," he said, referring to his mother. "What I carry now as king, I carry because of her example. Her strength, her humor, her wisdom, and her love." This wasn't just a farewell to a reign, it was an acknowledgement of a legacy. Queen Margrethe, who in recent years has faced health challenges, including a major back surgery, is not just a retired monarch, she remains a symbolic anchor for the nation. Her presence continues to loom large, not as a shadow, but as a protective silhouette. And for Frederik, it is both an inheritance and an emotional load he must now shoulder in his own unique way. Danish citizens, long known for their emotional restraint, responded with a level of affection and empathy rarely seen in public discourse. Social media flooded with messages of support. "We cried with him," one user posted. Another wrote, "In that moment, he wasn't King Frederik, he was just Margrethe's son. And it broke my heart in the most beautiful way." Political figures also weighed in, with members of the Folketinget, Denmark's parliament, praising the king's transparency and emotional courage. Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, known for her pragmatic leadership, said in a brief statement, "His Majesty reminded us today that love and duty are not mutually exclusive. His emotion is his strength." The scene also ignited discussions across European royal households, as Queen Mary was praised internationally for her serene, grounding presence. Observers from the Swedish and Dutch courts privately expressed admiration, noting that Mary continues to define modern royalty through quiet grace, emotional availability, and solidarity with her husband. Royal biographers are already calling the moment a turning point. "This is where Frederik became king in the hearts of his people," one historian commented. "Not the coronation, not the ceremony, but this. A tear, a crack in the royal facade. That's when people truly connect." In the days following the emotional address, state broadcasters replayed the footage in slow motion. Not to sensationalize it, but to study its humanity. The way Mary's lips tightened in solidarity. The way Frederik swallowed emotion like a man trying to hold back the tide. The way even the royal guard standing behind him subtly softened their stance, sensing the intimacy of the moment. But this wasn't a story about weakness. This was a story about a man, about a king, choosing honesty over stiffness, connection over protocol. And Denmark, in turn, wrapped him in a collective embrace. The royal household released a quiet, dignified follow-up statement. It read, "His Majesty the King is deeply touched by the warm response from the Danish people and from those around the world." The moment shared with Her Majesty Queen Mary was personal, heartfelt, and genuine. It reflected the great love and gratitude he holds for his mother, Queen Margrethe II. What followed were images of the family walking together, Frederik, Mary, their 4 children, outside the palace walls, smiling gently, stepping forward into a new chapter. The moment in the hall may have been one of tears, but the days that followed were painted in strength, legacy, and the quiet resolve to lead not from above, but from within. This, perhaps, is the true power of monarchy in the 21st century. Not the crowns, the carriages, or the ceremonies, but the ability to reflect the emotional truths of a nation. To show the world that vulnerability and leadership can coexist. That tears do not diminish a king, they humanize him. As Denmark moves forward under Frederik's reign, it does so with a deeper connection to its monarch. Not just as a ruler, but as a man of feeling. A son, a father, a husband, and now, a king shaped by love. And so, dear viewers, after witnessing such a moving, deeply personal moment from King Frederik in front of Queen Mary, what do you believe makes a leader truly unforgettable? The crown they wear, or the tears they shed? Don't forget to like, share, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more emotional, insightful royal stories direct from the palaces of Europe.